conferences, and it's like in a perfect world where we have all the money that we want. We would go crazy with all the stuff that's there.
Yeah, because like when you shared that there was a ride share.
Oh yeah, the Teslas.
Yeah. I was like, what?
I want to talk to him too.
There's Brent.
Yeah, I have it recording.
Howdy.
I'm gonna give it a couple more minutes, and then we can get started.
Can everyone that's virtual hear us just fine?
Yep.
Okay, good deal.
Yes.
We're just gonna give it a couple minutes and then we'll get started. So far, who are we missing?
Andre Allen. Jesse. I would.
From the people who respond.
Jody Stone.
Oh, she's advocates for ACT.
Of course. Sean.
Have you been? It was exciting to hear about the blue light. Neighbors are happy.
Neighbors are.
Well, that's a little easier because it's an existing building. They're not demoing it.
Right.
So it's properties they already own. Should be even more of a traditional property.
Well, congratulations on the groundbreaking.
Yeah, thank you.
You
So
made it.
hopefully it opens around this time next year.
Okay. All right. So we'll get started. So like, first of all, thank you for agreeing to be on our Action Transportation Plan Committee. You can pull up the.
I should say.
So yeah. What was? Yeah. One of our visions for this plan is to have like a regional scope. So that's why we asked you guys all to be here today, because you guys represent different areas of the region and have a better sense of, a localized sense of, local priorities and needs. And so like we want to make sure that those are represented in the plan. So that's why we asked you all to be here today. So thank you for that. I'll also like to start off with like introductions. I'm not sure who knows who. So just we're going to go around and say your name, title, organization, and one highlight of your summer. So since Debbie is all the way over there, you can start.
Awesome. Hey, I'm Debbie LaRue. I'm with Bragg County Regional Planning Commission. I had a baby over the summer. That's hard to do.
John Olive. I certainly cannot top that. John Olive in City of Washington. Family and I did a trip to England and Scotland primarily to see the Cubs play the Cardinals and win at least one of the two games.
Jeffrey Jackson, planning intern. I graduated from college this summer.
Dr. Shamma Robinson Macklin. I am with Greater Peoria Mass Transit District CityLink, and I would have to say the same thing. I graduated this year. Got my PhD.
Gabriel Guevara, Tri-County Regional Planning Commission. And one highlight from my summers, I went to Sao Paulo, Brazil. So that was an exciting trip.
Okay. Michael Bruner, planner at Tri-County Regional Planning Commission. And, this summer I did a staycation, which was really fun. Got a lot of the honeydews marked off my list. So that is what I think I'm going to say.
All right. Well, I'm Rima Abiakar. I'm at the Tri-County Planning Commission as well. And I went to New Orleans with my roller derby team over the summer. And I survived the heat.
I am Gavin Hunt with Tri-County Regional Planning Commission. I'm a planner, and I adopted a cat this summer. So,
Oh, nice. I can't see. Could you?
yeah,
Okay, for the folks online, Jody Scott.
You're muted, Jody.
Okay, there we go. And I'm Jody Scott with Advocates for Access. And highlight of my summer is I took a girls' trip to DC with some old friends from high school.
Brent, you're next.
Hey everyone, Brent Baker, representing Bike Peoria, all volunteer run bike advocacy group here in Peoria. This summer was pretty crazy. I think in the span of about 8 or 10 weeks, I was in 6 unique countries between Canada and Europe. So it was a very busy summer, and I'm looking forward to hibernating a bit here this winter. So yeah.
Hi, everyone. Some of my favorite people are on this call that I haven't seen in a while. So, hey, my summer highlight is I saw Dead and Company. I was at the last Grateful Dead show in 1995. Rest in peace, Jerry. And so full circle got to go see them this summer before they stopped touring.
Awesome. Amy Fox.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Amy McClellan. Oh, sorry. The other Amy. Go ahead.
Amy Fox, Tazewell County Health Department. Got to do some fun family things this summer in Vegas, and went with my daughter to see Stevie Nicks and Billy Joel at Ohio State. So that was kind of a fun weekend away with my daughter. So that was a highlight for sure.
Nice. Peoria Park District.
Hey everyone, I'm Mike Freeberg, and I'm a planner at the Peoria Park District. And I guess for my summer, I packed off my youngest to go to the University of Wisconsin. So,
Amy McLaren.
Sorry about that. Amy McLaren. I'm with the Peoria County Highway Department. Continuing some of the music themes. I saw the Drum Corps International Finals in Indianapolis with my son, and that was a big fun time.
We also have Hillary. So we're just doing introductions right now. So name, org, and a highlight of your summer.
Great, thank you. Hillary Eggert, Woodford County Health Department. And my highlight was traveling to Florida to see my parents.
Well, thank you for that. And we'll get started. So can you share the PowerPoint? Next slide, please. So we are here to talk about active transportation. We already did introductions. So I just want to give a brief overview of what an active transportation plan is. I'm not sure, we have a good mix of people, so I'm not sure if you know what an active transportation plan is. So I just want to give a quick overview of that. We're going to do a timeline of our project. We're going to talk about the open house, public engagement, and then we're going to have some open discussion. So this is going to be a space to provide feedback and help guide our planning process to ensure that there is a regional focus and regional priorities are incorporated in that plan. So that's the goal of this committee and the plan overall. This next slide. So basically, an active transportation plan seeks to make the transportation network inclusive for all modes of transportation, including pedestrians and bicyclists. And the purpose of that is to make it safer for all modes of transportation. And so to do that, you have to evaluate your current network and see where the gaps are, identifying, do we need sidewalks? And, are the bike lanes that we have, are they in good condition? And so once you understand those gaps, the next step is to provide recommendations for improvement, adding sidewalks, and maybe improving the infrastructure or creating a plan to maintain that infrastructure, or even creating an ordinance, for that process. So that's basically what an active transportation plan is in a nutshell. So next slide. So with Walk, Bike, Ride Greater Peoria, that is Tri-County's active transportation plan for the region. One goal that we have for this plan is to expand on the work that was done with Bike Connect HOI. To my knowledge, that was Tri-County's first active transportation plan. And with that plan, that it mainly focused on bicycle infrastructure and making and identifying where we can expand the bicycle infrastructure and what currently exists to make it safer for bicycle travel. But some internal critiques that we had about that plan was that it only focused on bicycles and it only focused on bicycle travel in the sense of recreation. So we wanted to expand on that focus to include pedestrians and transit users as well. And we wanted to express that alternative modes of transportation aren't just for recreational. Some people use this as a viable mode of transportation, whether because that's their only option or they just want to bike to work or walk to work. So that's what we had in mind for this plan. Next slide. So based on the work that the community engagement that we've done up until this point and internal conversations that we had as a staff, these are some goals that we've come up for this plan. I want to also, I'm going to list off these goals, but I also want to give everyone an opportunity to provide feedback on these goals. Are there, what changes should be made? Are there any goals that need to be added? So here we go. So some goals that we have for this plan is we want it to be a tool to be leveraged for grant funding. We want to make the system safer for all users. We want to identify regional and local priorities. And we also want to coordinate planning efforts at the regional and statewide level. Is there anything missing? Anything that needs to be added? Thoughts, concerns?
I think it hits the big points of such a plan.
Next slide. So again, we also created a vision statement to represent the improvements that we would like the transportation network to look like in the future due to the work done through our active transportation plan. So I'm going to share this with you and also like provide you the space to provide feedback and input on this and you know, gather your thoughts. So the plan will be a reference point for the region's vision for bicycle, pedestrian, and transit infrastructure. We will take strides to make our transportation system more inclusive for alternative modes of transportation with the intention of increasing the prosperity of the region. Our focus is to ease the navigation of our alternative transportation system for travelers to not only increase physical access, but social and economic access to the region for all, no matter age, ability, or socioeconomic status. Next slide. So timeline. So this is a draft timeline that we have created for the project. So we divided it into 3 phases. Phase 1, which is community engagement. Phase 2, plan drafting, and phase 3, refined plan. So the community engagement phase started in May, where we had a kickoff event that started off the whole process. And ideally, we hope to be done with community engagement by December of 2023. Phase 2 is ideally we started it, and well, actually, I guess we started it the moment we started analyzing the feedback, but June to January of 2024, we identified as the drafting phase. And that's basically analyzing feedback, collecting other data such as, you know, commuter data within the region, and then just taking the time to write a draft plan. So hopefully our goal is to be done with that by January of 2024. Is somebody?
Yeah, it's and speak up so you don't have to pull down, Brent. I was just a question as it regards your comment, Gabriel, that you said the last bike connected HY plan was the long range plan. In phase 1, do we anticipate, or has this work already been done of going back and sort of doing a post-mortem is probably the wrong word, but like what from that plan is still viable and valid in the sense of what projects maybe did not get completed or what projects did get completed as an assessment of, I don't know, the success of having that plan in place. I only bring this up because I think the addition, the late addition of bike ped improvements on the Bob Michael redecking was, I think, a big success, and it was one of the main barriers that sort of came out of the first plan, if I recall correctly, of that bridge being the only bike ped connection across the river before the Murray Baker comes online. That I think was a really important thing to highlight. And I just wonder if there's anything else in that plan, if there's a plan to revisit that and inform this new plan in phase 1.
Yeah, that was actually like one of the first steps that we took. Was like, that was actually like my task, was like to like review like the last plan and see what was in it, and I guess kind of create like a progress report, like what was completed and what wasn't done, and things of that nature. So like that could be a section in the new plan to kind of like mention the successes of the last plan and probably like unfinished projects. So that could be a section in the new plan, and I don't see why not.
Okay, great, thank you. And your phrasing of progress report is way better than my post-mortem comment. So appreciate that.
So like, yeah, where was I? Yeah, drafting the plan, and then lastly, refining the plan. So like ideally, the goal is to have a plan by June of 2024. And then the last phase of this is basically just incorporating edits, having a public comment period, and then lastly, adopting the plan. So any other questions on timeline or? That's so the open house. So October 26th at the Peoria Public Lincoln Branch Library, we will have an open house from 4 to 6. And this open house is basically designed, it's just another opportunity to engage with the public, get their feedback, understand like how they currently use the system, and understand like what they need to get out of it, and understand like some barriers that they face. So like the current layout is that we'll have like different stations at the library, and each station will be a different activity, and basically aimed at understanding how people currently use the system. And so like we also need your help to get the word out. We created a Facebook post. We mailed it out to our mailing list. So what other avenues like should we use to get the word out?
We did do that.
We did, yes.
Yes.
And then another idea, utilize sections. Yeah, there's awareness of what's going on.
Sure.
That's happening social media.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Another thought is if you all wouldn't mind, if we could share out our graphic here. If you all wouldn't mind maybe pushing it out through your guys's sources, either posting on social media, or if you have an email list that you don't mind sending it out to, that would be great.
Another thing that I can do, within our transit center, we have monitors in the lobby. And they can also
Okay, perfect. Okay.
And it would be helpful if you told everybody which route they can get to the library.
Ooh, that's a good point. And I know that we do have some friends coming on October 25th to support the, if you all don't know, the state of Illinois is currently actually going underway to develop their own active transportation plan. And one of the sub-consultants, Lockmere Group, will be here in Peoria on the 25th, mainly at the transit center. However, I do think they might do some kind of walking out from there as well to reach out to users of our system. So we can also hopefully have a few flyers for them as well for that. But
another idea I have too is I should talk with our director of marketing. See if maybe we can add some flyers.
oh, perfect.
So I'll make sure to send by the graphic.
Okay.
And then I'll also send the graphic to everyone here. I'll email it to everyone here so you guys can have it and share it amongst your networks and get the word out. So thank you for that. Next slide. So I just wanted to take a moment to share some community engagement that we've done up until this point. So May 16th was our kickoff event. It was a great event. We had about 50 or so people show up. And the day started off with a walk audit with Mark Fenton, which basically we walked around the neighborhood of Neighborhood House and assessed the pedestrian infrastructure around the area. And then after the walk audit, we came back to Neighborhood House for a presentation by Mark Fenton and Charles T. Brown. Both are national speakers. Mark Fenton's presentation focused on the importance of having a more walkable community, while Charles T. Brown's presentation focused on the importance of, designing transportation with an equity lens. And then after those presentations, we broke off into facilitated group discussions. So I want to say groups of like 5 to 6 people. Everyone had a facilitator, and we had discussions on like how people got around transportation barriers that they faced. And, do they feel as though they could reach their destination using an alternative mode of transportation? So like it was a very enriching conversation, and I feel like we got a lot of good information from that. So like that was one event that we did, and then from there we had technical committee interviews. So TCRPC, we have 2 committees. We have a technical committee, and we also have full commission. So our technical committee comprises of engineers, city administrators, public work folks. So they have like a good understanding of like infrastructure in their community. And also we wanted to understand like what are some infrastructure priorities and needs and barriers to those. So like those are the point of those interviews, and just like understanding like what's going on in their community, and also how can our active transportation plan be a benefit to your community, like what needs to be in that plan. So like that was the purpose of those interviews. And then also we've done tabling at ADA WOW, which is a disability resource fair that happened at the Civic Center over here. So this is their 2nd annual event. And so basically it's just a resource fair to show people with disabilities what resources are available to them is it Tri-County area or in the Tri-County area. And so we had a table there, we talked to people. We also debuted our mascot, Gus the Bus. People took selfies with them. It was a good time. And then we're also conducting bus audits, where our intern Kefra here is riding the CityLink buses and just like assessing, the reliability and of bus travel, and just like how much time does it take to get from point A to point B, and things of that nature. So he's been riding a lot of buses this summer, and he's been taking a lot of pictures and notes. So we're looking forward to like hearing that report, and that report will be added to this plan. So next slide. So community engagement moving forward. We plan to have focus groups. Each focus group is going to be like tailored to a different topic. So like one focus group is going to be like public health, social services, and park districts. Another one is going to be economic development, government, education, engineering, enforcement. So like the idea of these like focus groups are just like further understanding the different barriers to transportation, because like it's one thing to have the infrastructure, but there's also the social aspect to using that infrastructure. So like the purpose of these focus groups is kind of like understanding that social aspect of things and maybe further informing the planning process to develop a plan that could possibly mitigate some of those barriers. So some of the people on the steering committee will be asked to participate on some of these focus groups. So thank you in advance for that. So I believe that's the last slide I have. Yeah, and then contact information. And so like now we're going to go into the open discussion piece of the meeting. So I just like have a series of questions that I want to propose to you guys, and just like get your feedback on how can we like better refine our planning process. So the first question that I have is like, what can TCRPC do to ensure that our planning process is representative of the what can TCRPC do to ensure that our planning process is representative of the region as a whole?
Gabriel, this is Amy at the county. It seems like the urban areas are pretty well, I would say represented, but we want to make sure that the rural folks also get a shake at this. So I just asked that if C-Link does the rural transportation in Peoria County. I'm not sure about Tazewell or Woodford County, but making sure that we are inclusive to the rural communities as well.
Yeah, that's a good comment, Amy. We do have representatives from We Care as well on this committee, but I don't believe they are able to attend today's meeting.
This is Amy Fox. I guess one of the things I wonder about is I know there are some other plans within the Tri-County. I know Pekin's working on a plan. You're just making sure that those are all rolled up and at least considered or acknowledged if there's any support or alignment in those plans. And then with my Partnership for a Healthy Community hat, I think, we have an issue of physical activity in our community, lack thereof, and so just the health benefit of having a more active transportation system maybe mentioned somewhere as well.
I assume IDOT would be a part of the process, and they almost kind of naturally oversee all of us, and we can kind of take our response in making sure that we have projects that are inclusive of all forms of transportation based on what they do. And frankly, I don't know if they've always necessarily preached or enforced, implemented complete streets as it should be done. And I think making sure that they actually abide by that policy that's been in place for a long time now is something that they need to continually have a part of their projects.
And I guess to that point, because we have an array of people in the room and then also online, as I did mention, IDOT is currently going through the active transportation plan, so we can get you some information and send it out to you all so you all can participate in that process and supply comments, because there is opportunities for supplying comments to that particular plan as well.
I think we have roughly a similar timeline to the Illinois Active Transportation Plan as well, where their end date is June 2024 as well. So,
is the state one more focused on the state routes, and this one is more on the local roads?
Yeah, so we're more regional focused, whereas the state is more looking kind of statewide, more on their routes. But I mean, the input they are requesting, you can input on anything. But and we also hope to tie in the additional kind of, as Amy Fox mentioned, there are the city of Pekin is currently going through the active transportation planning process. So we are, of course, going to incorporate that feedback. And then additionally, there's two studies going through or being completed in 61605. I know, Amy, you're part of the equity transportation plan. And then we also have the I forget what it's called. Rima, help me. Social
determinants of health.
Yes, social determinants of health is also active. So we plan to have kind of those two planning processes kind of inform our plan. So we do. That's what we have. Andre Allen, who couldn't be here today, he's kind of doing the social determinants of health, so he'll be on this committee. And then Amy is working on the equity plan, so she's on this committee. So both of those individuals will have kind of that knowledge to help bring what's going on with their plans to the table.
I guess my next question is, how can we engage your community / service area? Any tips?
This is Amy, the other Amy. We have, the county has a committee meeting, a infrastructure transportation committee meeting every month. And if you'd like to present at that, happy to get you on the agenda. I think some of the other local agencies have village board meetings or committee meetings that might be appropriate, working through their street superintendent or road commissioner or county engineer to get on those, in those forums.
I agree. Every other month, like also city, and then also the city of Peoria, they have a presentation.
My next question is, how can this plan be a benefit to you or your organization? What would you like to see in the plan?
You touched on the funding component earlier, and for me, as the years go on, that's what I find to be the biggest impact of such a plan, to be able to leverage that into any funding for the projects that may be identified.
That, like, when we were interviewing our technical members, that was a big thing, funding, a tool for funding.
Have a good day. Also, it's being thoughtful and just mindful of this ADA awareness and compliance on everything that we do.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned ADA, Shamrock. So every community, every county has issues with existing sidewalks and other ADA issues. And I don't know if it would get down to that level where we're almost going block by block and addressing different parts of our respective entities that have those issues. But if there's anything we can do to help address that too, and again, going back to the funding, trying to come up with who knows how much money would be needed to really address all of the different issues that all of us currently have. I would love to be able to have something that we could leverage into additional funding opportunities.
A really good idea. Is how does this Washington have? You have a sidewalk inventory, don't you?
We do. I wouldn't say that it's entirely inclusive, but we have at least a partial inventory.
So you would be able to maybe supply, this is kind of what we think in the number of blocks that are below the ADA standards. Okay. Would be something interesting to send out to our technical committee to see if we can get a understanding. Amy, would you be able to do something similar? I know the county might not have as many pedestrian accommodations, but are you aware at least of the significant areas that are that need maintenance improvement?
So we don't have a lot, and then the ones that we do, the ones that we do have issues with, we inventoried a lot of that for our Safe Routes to School grant application. But yeah, I mean, we can take a look at it. We did an ADA thing a couple of years ago, so we do know some of those items. Sure.
Is there any way to, I know we're having community engagement on the 26th, I believe it is. Is there any way to survey the individuals that have disabilities that are having access issues? With that, whether it's putting something on the Facebook page for a survey, because some people may not be able to make it out for the event either that are having the access issues.
Sure.
What was it? One component, I didn't mention it, but like we are planning to like develop a survey. And we talked about like designing it in such a way where it's like people who couldn't make it to the open house would still be able to like supply some of the same information. So it's coming.
And to that point, we're also we've talked about developing a online interactive mapping tool as well, where people can input specific locations of concern or maybe locations that they really like as well. So.
And I know the Peoria Park District really leveraged Facebook, I believe it was, when they were looking at the accessible park and which plan to do, and they got a huge response on that as well. So that may be bringing them in and seeing what they did as well.
Sure.
Again, just a thought.
All the questions that I have for you guys today. Any questions for us?
Was there anything that we missed that you would have liked us to talk about? A topic for us to explore further?
And this may be more on the Shamra level, so sorry, Shamra. But even if we're looking at accessibility and we're looking at making transit user friendly, I know bus stops have been something that's also been discussed. So that may be something that, and I'll just use an example. The Access Living was here, which is the Center for Independent Living up in Chicago, and they interviewed one of the customers, and he uses a motorized wheelchair. Well, when he takes fixed route, there's no shelter at the specific stop that he goes to use. So he's out in the elements in his motorized wheelchair, waiting for the bus to come. So just even bus stop shelters, I don't know that that's within the scope, but I guess it would be something to look at. So.
I'll come back into the picture for this. But we did submit a grant, I don't know, a couple months ago,
September 15th.
last month, to IDOT to potentially have an inventory of bus stops. So we already know where they are. We have an idea of what is there, but this study would fund really very detailed level of like the gradient, are there stormwater issues, what is the condition of the sidewalks around it, things like that. So we haven't heard back from that, but that if we get that, that would be a wonderful addition.
And to that point, it would also provide, I think, some design strategies for helping improve different various types of bus stops based off of the different attributes that exist there.
We also develop a prioritization matrix that we could use so that we could identify which bus stops should go first. And that would help us with budgeting in the future. And as routes move, et cetera, we'd still be able to use that prioritization matrix to change the game plan depending on the year.
Yeah. So we're really excited about that. Hopefully we'll get some good news on that application. But I also will note that part of Kefra, he's been riding along on the different bus routes. He's also making note of where some of the high bus stop usage, where people get off and on at. So as part of that that audit, he is also getting off at some of those bus stops to kind of survey the conditions of that bus stop and kind of walk around the neighborhood kind of adjacent to that bus stop. So that is additionally part, but we're not going to everyone as maybe like the top 2 for each route, or depending on how big the route is.
Like to share some of that? Yeah, sure. So when we get off at stops at the time, we essentially assess, we factor about 2 things. How many people get off at that stop? If it's a high count, then we get off and see where they're going, what the infrastructure is like, or if it's like a really egregious example of bus stop infrastructure, then we get off and take pictures and videos and stuff. That's it.
Well, that's all I have for you guys. So thank you.
Thank you for the information.
Yeah, no problem.
Determined?
Yeah, kind of as needed. I think we'll meet again after our open house. We'll go through and kind of compile all the data and then present it back to you. And we'll review it as a committee and kind of start developing the potential goals and objectives for our plan that we will submit back to the public with a second open house for them to kind of prioritize and see how their input kind of shaped our planning process. So that'll be should be a lot of fun.
Good to see you all.
Yeah.
Have a nice afternoon, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.